say a word or two to introduce yourself? I'm sure you're known to everybody here, but when people look back at these archives in 10, 20, 30 years.
They'll wonder who was that bearded ancient person. Hello, I'm the talking dinosaur on the panel. My name is Vint Cerf. I'm vice president and chief internet evangelist at Google. The question that you've raised is one which I have recently become intensely interested in, thanks to two things that have happened in literally the last few days, partly a consequence of this Internet Governance Forum. Bertrand de la Chapelle, who is probably known to you, is the 21st century reincarnation of an 18th century French philosopher. And he gives us much to think. He says that the notion of sovereignty in a highly connected environment may have to change because actions taken on sovereign grounds may have impact on others outside of the territory of that sovereign domain. He gives an analogy where a river is flowing through country A and country A chooses to pollute the river just as it leaves the borders of country A and flows into country B, visiting all kinds of serious and deleterious results on country B. The gentleman, the minister from India, Mr. Sipal, made a rather bold statement that sovereignty was dead and that the concept of sovereignty was no longer appropriate in the internet environment.